All right, folks, welcome in. I am Jake Ellenbogen, and man, I'm bummed. The Rams lost. It's over. Season's over. They lost to the Eagles 28-22 after kind of almost a miracle, if we're being honest with ourselves. Um, this game was so damn close, and all of a sudden, the Eagles had a really big body blow in the form of a Saquon Barkley explosive touchdown run, long touchdown run. Felt like it was over for a lot of people. I did not think it was over. I felt like this team could get back into it. They did. They get the touchdown. Then after that, I really felt like once they got that touchdown, the defense could make a stop, get them the ball back. And at this point, don't let the Rams get hot, right? It came down to, I believe, around the 20-yard line. I want to be sure here. So we go back to, let's see. Yeah, this came down to the 22nd. The 22-yard line. Philly 22 was at the Philly 13, and Stafford took a 9-yard sack, which isn't his fault. I mean, it was a total, misplay by Bo Limmer. Really unfortunate. But man, I just have a lot of respect for both sides. I think the Eagles, this is what we were talking about early in the year when I was at SoFi Stadium. And afterwards, if you guys follow my YouTube channel, which is just Jake Ellenbogen, I had said this team just dominated both sides of the offensive line, or both sides of the line of scrimmage. And it was tough, man. It was really tough. And the Rams did not lose a meaningful game after that. It sucks to see Philly be the team to knock the Rams out. But what the Rams showed was a lot of heart, and that this team isn't going anywhere in a good way. They'll be back next year. Right now their strength of schedule is among the middle of the pack. So that's good. But Matthew Stafford finishes his long game here with over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, was sacked 5 times, a 97.2 passer rating. He was the leader he had to be. He did everything he possibly could, considering the weather. This game started off with not really much of a flurry on the ground and turned into an absolute snowfest. And just the fact that the Rams were able to come back, being down 15-28, late in the game, I give them a lot of credit. I mean, they were not far away where if they score a touchdown, Josh Carty is essentially an extra point away from winning the game. So that's how close the Rams were. They got inside the 15-yard line, and that sack really hurt them. Kyren Williams' fumble hurts, but you also got to give Kyren Williams a lot of praise as well. I understand maybe not a lot of people want to hear it. He had some explosive runs in this game. People are always talking about how he's not explosive. Kyren Williams made his money, of course, in the pass protection game. His job in blitz pickup was massive. He had to there was no margin for error. For whatever reason, the offensive line didn't really show up today. Now, to be fair, the Eagles have a really nasty defensive front. Guys like Milton Williams and Jalen Carter, who we saw at the end of this one. Nolan Smith had a great game. So these guys, there's a lot of talent all over the Eagles. You got to give them tip the cap there. Puka Nacua really stepped up down the stretch, wasn't able to do much of anything until they really needed him to. Had a huge catch that really made this a potential game. Stafford put it on him. Demarcus Robinson left it all in the field. He had a great game, had a huge catch where he ripped out an interception and caught the ball. Cooper Kupp had some huge catches as well. Higbee had a touchdown. Parkinson had a touchdown in this one. Whittington and Atwell helped out. I just was really impressed with the way this team fought back. Okay. It wasn't the result we wanted, but I think we all have to be honest here. This Rams team had been counted out early on. They were 1-4, and all the mainstream was telling you they weren't going to win. And then they started to win, and then they lost to the Eagles in week 12. They lost to the Dolphins in week 10. And people were starting to say this team isn't very good. And then you started after that Eagles game, they beat the Bills, they start beating these teams. And then sure enough, you go to the wild card game and everything going on with the fires and what have you, what they were able to do against the Vikings was really impressive. And Eagles fans are going to run their mouths. They're going to, not be humble about this in all likelihood. But you know what? We know damn well when it came down to it, your heart beating was just as fast as an Eagles fan's heart beating. They'll sit there, they'll talk their smack. Who cares? It is what it is. But make no mistake about it. At one point or another, Matthew Stafford had put the absolute scare into this fan base, whether they were at Lincoln Financial or they were at home. And that, to me, that I can feel good about that. Now, obviously, Stafford's days are numbered in a sense that he's got 2 to 3 more years left in all likelihood. But to see a guy like that who was clearly banged up early in the game, he was holding his ribs, throw for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, not throw a pick, keep his team in it, drive down the field and try to win the game, have a chance to with the conditions. Man, that is some of the best football that I've seen from a quarterback in quite some time down the stretch. I understand he missed the throw. Look, the conditions were insane. Okay, Jalen Hurts didn't do much of anything when he got hurt. Then you look, of course, Josh Carty hit both field goals. He hit both extra points, meaning he finished the season after everybody getting on him and saying they need to cut him. He finishes the season with 17 straight made field goals. So, hats off to Josh Carty. He was great. I thought you saw some fantastic stuff in the defensive side. Don't let the Saquon Barkley big runs get to you, okay? This defense, when their best was required, they gave it to you. They gave you 7 sacks in this one. Kobe Turner had a huge sack. Jared Verse had 2. Omar Spates had a simulated pressure that ended up being a sack, and that was huge. McCullough, Gallimore had a safety in this game. Fisk had a sack. Who knows what happens if Fisk doesn't go down, but we're not going to go down that road because we know they dealt with injuries as well. I just thought that altogether, I thought Kello did a really nice job in coverage against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. He clearly was not 100%. I just have so much respect for, and I have issues. Don't get me wrong. I didn't love the way Bo Limmer played that last one against Jalen Carter. I don't know how you look off your assignment. Jalen Carter is the priority there. That annoyed me. Some of the drops were frustrating. The fumble by Kyron, that hurt. But also, while there were definitely some miscues, I had issues with the blitzes that they called. I think they took them out of positioning and all that. The reality is this team never gave up. That sounds corny for some. It doesn't matter because that's what it is. This team never gave up the whole year. It was not easy. It was not at all easy. They found a way to win 11 games this year. They almost won 12. They were 14 yards away from winning this game. And the Eagles didn't really do much of anything on the offensive side. So you got to give the defense a lot of credit because the Rams defense really kept them in this game. I mean, when you look, time of possession is pretty dead even, right? Rams end up with more yards, way more passing yards, right? So when you look at this game, this is Saquon Barkley explosives. People are going to talk about what Barkley did. They're not going to talk about how good this pass defense was. They're not going to talk about how really they gave him every chance possible to get back in the game. They gave up some of those plays for sure, but this team went down swinging. I give them a lot of credit. That was not easy. They had never seen an environment like that all season long. This was insane. I've never seen a snow Rams game that I can think of. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Hats off to the Eagles. Congratulations. They absolutely, deserve to move on. This is what it comes down to. The Rams, were they the better team? No, I don't think they were. But I had them winning this game. I had them going to the Super Bowl because I felt like this was a team that they had the right pieces. They got hot at the right time. And when push came to shove, I trusted Matthew Stafford. If this was in the dome, this is at SoFi Stadium. If this is on turf, no snow, do I think Stafford gets the job done and wins the game? Yes, I do. He's shown it in the past. But he fell short. And look, you can look back at it and say, maybe they should have started using, those hurry ups, right? They should have more of a hurry up offense. Maybe they waited too long. That's certainly possible. The fumble really hurt them. They were kind of controlling the game at that point, but they rallied back. They gave themselves a shot. They came as close as you can come to getting 6 there and the extra point. It hurts. It hurts more because I don't get a chance to cover a game next week for me. But I've gotten used to this. I watched the Super Bowl win. I watched a lot of bad football in St. Louis. I watched some good. I've watched some bad. I've watched some ugly. I covered every single game, the 2022 season. I remember being crazy happy when Baker Mayfield led a 93, 94-yard drive. It might have even been 97-yard drive down the field to score and beat the non-playoff Raiders at the end of that season on Thursday Night Football. The point being is I care a lot about this team. I try to cover this to the best of my ability. And I will say this. If you're upset, every right to be upset. There are going to be Rams fans that don't want to hear this. This is not a moral victory thing. This is more so the reality. The Rams right now they're not going to get battered with free agency. Okay. They don't have tons of guys going into free agency. They have some things they need to figure out. I definitely want Ahkello Witherspoon back. I want Michael Hoyt back. Bobby Brown is huge in the run game. I'd want him back. Right. I'd like to start preparing for the future after Rob Havenstein. I like Alaric Jackson. Depending on the money, I'd like him back. There are plenty of guys, right? Demarcus Robinson might have played himself back on the roster next year. Tutu Atwell, I'd like back. Right? There are so many guys that you could mention, Christian Roseboom. But at the same time, while that's a lot of names, that's not they're not crippling names. There's a lot of really good ones, and they're key cogs to this team. And I think I would be going hard after bringing back Witherspoon because I thought he played so well down the stretch at corner and give him a full, off season to prepare. The point I'm making here is that the Rams already did a rebuild in 2023. They had a fantastic draft on top of that fantastic draft, going out and getting key pieces for the future. Jared Verse, Cameron Kinchins, Braden Fisk. I think Jordan Whittington is going to be massive next year. I think he's going to be huge. Josh Carty, they have their franchise kicker, made 17 straight field goals to end the year. Ty Davis is going to have a bigger role next year. I think he looked really good. They have all these guys like Brennan Jackson, who didn't really get much of an opportunity this year, will probably get a bigger opportunity next year. They have second-year players like Kobe Turner. They have, Byron Young. These guys are taking another step. Quentin Lake is just playing, out of his mind. He's really developed. Cam Curl, Kobe Durant. This is a young team that last year people didn't think would make the playoffs. And then this year, people said this team wasn't good enough without Aaron Donald, and they got further than they did last year with Aaron Donald. So bet against Matthew Stafford all you want. I don't care, because at the end of the day, Matthew Stafford is the quarterback that I trust to lead them to the promised land once again. And this was another stepping stone. This was a step up. Last year, they lost in the wild card game, final seconds of the game. They showed that they belonged in this one. They went up against a team that beat them by 17 in their house and went into their house and gave them a scare and had a chance to win down, 14 yards away from sending themselves to host the NFC title game. That's who this team is. Their heart, Sean McVay, the culture's been built. I trust this team long term. I definitely trusted this team to win next week if they came through this one. And again, we always focus, LA teams, especially in football. They play in the dome. And, obviously we know there's open air at SoFi. But yeah, they play in the dome. They play on turf. They don't play in the elements. Well, man, that offense sure looked a little bit better than the Eagles' offense. Am I right? The Eagles had a few explosive plays from Barkley, but aside from that, they held Goddard to 56 yards. Barkley had 27 out of the backfield as a pass catcher. Devontae Smith had 21. A.J. Brown caught 2 of 7 for 14. I mean, Ahkello Witherspoon, Kobe Durant, Quentin Lake, Darius Williams, they had these guys clamped up. The defensive line was getting pressure on Hurts. It sucks that this is how it ends. I'm not ready for the season end, but you know what? That's just the way it works. You know, that we've watched this before, that we've watched Rams teams in the past. I believe last year's team could have won the Super Bowl. I believe this year's team could have won the Super Bowl. I really think, next year, I know that hurts to hear, but they are going in the right direction. And all they have to do is make sure they don't start off, with a 1-4 record. They get off to a good start, and they're going to be a tough out. But give them a lot of credit. They were doused in the flame of injuries before the season started. They worked their way from 1-4 to they finish out this season at 11-8. And you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I'll live. It hurts. I hate it for the fan base. I think LA definitely deserved this one. But at the same time, there are two teams. There's only one team that advances. It survived in advance. While the Rams, I do think, outplayed Philly. Philly just did just enough to get by, and they deserve credit for doing so. So we'll see next year. A lot of different things. We're going to have a show weekly on this channel, on Bleacher Report. So I'm excited for that, and plenty of stuff on my YouTube channel. We're going to have plenty of content. Draft is when I start getting into the draft, that's when I really, find my stride. So hope you guys enjoyed the coverage this year, whether you are a fan of my YouTube channel or you only follow me on Bleacher Report or whatever. Appreciate you guys. It's been a ride. It's been fun, and could not have done it without you guys. And again, I just can't thank the Rams organization. They're everybody, the GM, Les Snead, their head coach, Sean McVay, the entire coaching staff, the players. I mean, just to be able to get to this point and give you something to feel good about at the end of the season. It sucks, but they'll remember this. This was an unprecedented game for them. And I don't feel like they lost this game necessarily because of the snow. I think they were ready for the moment, and they came up short, and they were really close. But that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Bleacher Report, as always, for having me. And be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan. I'll also be going live over on YouTube, so be sure to check that out. But that's going to do it. So I'll see you guys soon. And like I said, future is bright for the Rams, and I think they're going to find their quarterback sooner than later, where post Stafford, I think they'll be in good shape. You guys take care. See you soon. Later, folks.